Hi, fans of high-quality entertainment, and as always, thank you to my members. I now have 14 members, and they get to see this video about 24 hours before the public does. Aren't they lucky? Sort of. This video is on my top 12 favorite solo, singer-songwriters or solo artists. And the thing is about doing a list like this, for instance, Captain Beefheart, who I'm a huge fan of, sometimes it's Captain Beefheart, sometimes it's usually Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band. But would you consider Captain Beefheart a solo artist, or is Captain Beefheart a band? Because usually, like I said, usually it's Captain Beefheart and the Magic Band. But for a lot of these, even though, they're solo artists, they have a band playing with them. But anyway, I've excluded Captain Beefheart, but if he was in this list, he would be very high up in the list. And some of the solo artists that I love that didn't make my top 12, but I still really enjoy their music, include Joe Cocker, Chris Squire from Yes, Yoko Ono. Yes, I am a fan of Yoko Ono's music. How about some Harry Nilsson? This is the only CD I have of him, but he was, super talented, of course. Randy Newman. I've got his early albums and always enjoy him. Brian Wilson could have almost made my top 12, but he didn't yet because I'm still getting to know his solo career, like that Lucky Sun, which is excellent. My favorite is actually this live album, Live at the Roxy Theatre. And anybody that's got the new deluxe version of this, let me know if I know it's got more songs, right? But I'm just wondering if it's worth getting the deluxe version of this. I'm sure Nicholas Pearl would let me know. I'm not a big, I am a fan, but not a big enough fan to buy his albums, but I did buy them in the past. And one particular album I've always loved by Bruce Springsteen is A Tunnel of Love. This hurts. I think he's definitely one of the greatest singer-songwriters. Paul Simon. And of course with Simon and Garfunkel. And Rod Stewart. These are his first, I think, four or five albums. The Rod Stewart album. Gasoline Alley, Every Picture Tells a Story, Never a Dull Moment, and more. Now this is my top 12. So number 12 is a new entry. I've only recently heard this artist, and I would like to thank Morris Gautreaux. We did a CD exchange. I gave him Can's Take Omego, which he loved. And he gave me the first solo album by Frank Black, of course from the Pixies. I had never heard his solo music, except, maybe one or two songs on Patreon at some point. But I was blown away by how great this is, and I definitely want to get more of his albums. Probably the next one is going to be his second album, Teenager of the Year. But he's number 12 at the moment, but he could be going higher in the rankings very soon. Number 11, and just for one album, even though I've got a couple more of his albums, which are very good, but this is my favorite. No Other by Gene Clark, who of course used to be In the Birds, and this is the deluxe version of it. I play this a lot. Top 10. Number 10. Now, I'm not a big fan of the Eagles, but there is one member of the Eagles that I absolutely love. No, it's not Don Henley. It's Joe Walsh. And once again, I think if I did this video like a year ago, he wouldn't have been in my top 50. I did know his solo career, but not as well as I know it now. And I absolutely love his early solo albums. I've got 3 of them. My favorite is possibly Barnstorm, and I know this is also the name of the band, Barnstorm, but it says Joe Walsh, so I consider this a Joe Walsh solo album, even though some of you might say, that's not Joe Walsh, it's Barnstorm. Well then, the band Barnstorm, the title of the album is called Joe Walsh, which doesn't make any sense. But yeah, I love, and kind of, surprisingly mellow. His early solo albums, a lot of it, but excellent. Number 9, definitely in the 70s, one of my favorite solo artists. I've still got maybe around 8 of his albums, and I never really play him that much. But when I do, I usually gravitate towards 1 or 2 albums, and that would be Blood and Chocolate and Elvis Costello's King of America, one of my all-time favorite albums. But yeah, I love early Elvis Costello. I've got My Aim Is True, This Year's Model, Armed Forces, and Get Happy, and a couple of other ones. Number 8, and it's, he would definitely be higher on the list if he had made more albums, of course, and it's John Lennon. Probably my favorite of his is Plastic Ono Band. But, I love Mind Games and Walls and Bridges and Double Fantasy. Great stuff. Number 7. Yeah, I've got his first 3 solo albums. I love each and every one. This is probably my favorite of, if I had to choose. And then, of course, he's in one of my all-time favorite bands, yes. And it's John Anderson, Elias of Sunhillow. And also his recent album, True, is incredible. And the live album he did with the Band of Geeks. So John Anderson, one of my all-time favorite singers. Number 6, he's always in my top 10. Kind of goes up and down a little bit, but because there's a couple of new entries from, if I had done this 1 year ago. It is Frank friggin' Zappa. That's right, I said friggin'. I love Frank Zappa. I've got maybe about 45 of his albums. Basically about not even half of his discography. And I also love like Hot Rats, The Grand Wazoo. We're only in it for the money with the Mothers of Invention and Joe's Garage, Overnight Sensation, Apostrophe, One Size Fits All. Okay, the top 5, and 2 of these artists would not have been, like I said, even in my top 50 1 year ago. But this artist has been in my top 10 for quite a while. And this might be my favorite of his. David Bowie, and sadly his final album, Black Star. But, I love a lot of his albums. Low, Ziggy Stardust, of course, Heroes, Reality. Some of his later albums are excellent too. But I think, like I said, this might be my favorite. Number 4 is definitely a new entry, and I still need to get more of his solo albums. I definitely want to get his whole discography. George Harrison. This was the album that, I've always liked it, but it's just been this year. I just finally, it's hard to describe, but for me, music is, it's more than just, I like that song. It can get to me, it can get to my soul, is what I'm trying to say. And George Harrison definitely has gotten to my soul with his music. And even some of his, lesser loved albums like Dark Horse, 33 1/3, his self-titled George Harrison, Extra Texture. I think those albums are very underrated. And Living in the Material World is as good, I feel, as All Things Must Pass. So George Harrison at number 4. Way to go, George. And I apologize, it only took me over 55 years to really appreciate your solo work. Number 3, I've been a fan of since the mid-70s, and he will always be in my top 5. And at the moment, he's number 3. It is Lou Reed. Also, I love the band he was in, the Velvet Underground. And there's lots of his albums I love, and this might be, if I had to choose one, this might be my all-time favorite. It was the first one I ever heard by him, Coney Island Baby. Number 2 and number 1. Well, number 1 is definitely, probably always going to be number 1. But number 2 is, like I said, once again, a year ago, I would have said, who? No, of course, I know the artist very well. But I only knew, some of his hit singles. And I'm talking about the great Donovan. And Open Road, which is more of a band. The band is actually called Open Road. But once again, Donovan, his name is on the album. So I consider it a Donovan album, not an Open Road album. But this is just, and it's rockier than, some of his other music. And I'm just so impressed with so many Donovan albums. I even love the ones in the 70s and later on. Just so good. And I play Donovan. The artist I play the most at the moment, I still play a lot of the Beatles. Nectar, the great prog band. Donovan. I play a lot of Can. Ween, not as much as I have in the past, but still absolutely love Ween. And number 1, I think will always be number 1. And I've got the big box set in my bedroom, so I've just got this one disc to show you from the box set. I have it here, so it's easier to get to. Paul McCartney, and probably my favorite album of his is Ram, although Chaos and Creation in the Backyard is a very close second. And, I kind of lost interest in him after Tug of War. And then I didn't buy any McCartney albums for over 25 years. I just kind of lost interest in him. And then, of course, when Memory Almost Full came out, I love that album, and I just started getting back into Paul McCartney and even appreciating some of his albums that I missed. In those 25 years, I wasn't buying his albums. But Ram is probably number one, but, you know, of course, Band on the Run, Venus and Mars, London Town, McCartney 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I love Paul McCartney. And that is it. I would love your favorite solo artist in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.